Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we will be going over the Korean War. Disclaimer, I am not an expert and I may make a mistake. Please correct me if I say or do something wrong. This video does not go into complete depth about the war. It is just a simplified overview of the important events to take note of. Also, I do not own any of the pictures in the video. All credits to the owner. Alright, let's begin. So the Korean War was from June 25th, 1950 through July 27th, 1953. And before we get into what actually happened in the war, let's take a look at some of the causes that sparked the war. So before World War I, Japan was a huge empire. They had a very strong military, they had many citizens living in the country, and part of their empire was Korea. And because Japan was thriving so much, in order to keep up with the production that their country was making, they enslaved the Korean citizens during the Second World War. And this kept going until they surrendered in 1945 when their cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the Japanese cities, were bombed by U.S. atomic bombs. So when they surrendered because of that, the Korean territory, remained unclaimed. So, as you can see in this picture over here, Korea was then divided into North and South Korea at the 30th parallel. And in this divided Korea, the USSR established a communist regime in the north. And in order to prevent the domino theory from playing out, the USA supported South Korea. And before we go into what the domino theory is, we're going to be talking about the 30th parallel. The 30th parallel is, like I said, the dividing line of North and South Korea, and it is a very heavily guarded border by both North Korean and South Korean soldiers. The border is one of the most dangerous places known to man today. Right. Now let's go into the domino theory. So the domino theory is analogous to dominoes falling down. One fall influences the next fall, and it's like a pattern until the dominoes stop falling. And the domino theory, what it states is that the USSR, the Soviet Union, pushes each of the countries into a communist trap. So basically, in this photo here, we have USSR, which is the hand, influencing the first fall of Laos into Vietnam, and then into Taiwan, Korea, Philippines, etc. And what the US thought is that they should stop it. They thought it was their duty to, stop each of the dominoes falling. Because the US policy towards communism was containment. We wanted to contain communism as possible and spread democracy. All right, let's go back to the war now. So here we see the first phase of the war to the right. So we have the 30th parallel, and we have North Korea here depicted in the red. And we have China over here, and we have the city of Busan down here. So the spark of the war is when North Korea first launched an attack towards the city of Busan and passing the 30th parallel. The goal of this attack was to unify Korea into one Korea under communist rule. And over here to the left, we can see the North Korean leader during the Korean War during the 50s. And we see Syngman Rhee here, who is the ROK leader, Republic of Korea leader. One thing about Syngman Rhee to keep in mind is that he was not communist, but he was still authoritarian, which means he did not, abide all of the rules of democracy because the US supported the South, but he wasn't communist. So that was one plus point that the US used. So now we have North Korea as having a huge advantage right now. But in the second phase of the war, we see here, we have South Korea pushing back almost into China. And specifically, I want to point out this little section of the map over here. Incheon, from down here up until Incheon over here, this is known as the Incheon landings. So what the US did, and by the US I mean South Korea, and I also mean UN soldiers. The UN sent out soldiers in order to assist South Korea as well. So in Incheon here we're going by sea. Over here we see land routes. We pass the 30th parallel and go to Pyongyang and almost up until China over here. But let's specifically talk about Incheon. So Incheon, we have the Incheon landings, in which the US, UN soldiers, and South Korean soldiers launched a naval attack using boats, ships over here, and planes over here to, enter in North Korea. And the leader of this mission we have here is this man named Douglas MacArthur. Douglas MacArthur was the general during the war, and over here he is shaking hands with Harry Truman. Their relationship is very important because in this photo you see them very happy, but in reality, Harry Truman fired MacArthur because he wanted to expand the war into China. We see this here. So what China did is China assisted North Korea during the war and helped them, fight back after the Incheon landings. China noticed this and they helped North Korea, push back into further from the 30th parallel back into South Korea, which MacArthur did not like. He actually wanted to, expand the war into China and go with Chinese mainland bombings. He wanted to bomb China and get China involved. However, Truman was very, very, very against this and fired MacArthur instead. He did this because the Korean War is known as the Forgotten War. So basically, Congress had never declared war on Korea, never declared war on China. So just Harry Truman did not want to, expand the war into something that it was not. So he fired General MacArthur instead. Many people see him as a hero, seen in this cartoon made in 1951. And some people say that Truman was right. All right, let's move on. So here we are in I believe, the fourth phase of the war, and we are at the result of the war. So the result of the war was that fighting stopped at the 30th parallel again, as we can see here in the map. So they were still at the 30th parallel. South Korea over here had an advantage, and North Korea over here had a little bit of advantage, so it was almost kind of even. There was very less loss/gain of land. Notice I put land in capitals because there were a lot of other losses. I'm just specifically talking about land. Land-wise, they didn't, gain or lose anything. They ended up where they started. North and South Korea are still divided today. There's still North Korean leaders, there's still South Korean leaders. Yeah, and the communist regime still remains in the north till today. And tensions between both of the countries still remain high. There were also many casualties on both sides, and only a military treaty, an armistice, stopped the quote-unquote war, because obviously it wasn't a declared war, and this military treaty was signed at Panmunjom. So over down here you can see a American newspaper that says Korea armistice signed, hostilities cease today. So it doesn't say war ceased today, it says hostilities cease today. because there was no official war declared, which is very important to know. All right, let's take a look at some of the numbers. So here are the battle casualties of the Korean War. At the top over here, we have North Korea having 600,000 civilian dead and missing, around 400,000 military killed and missing, and around 1 million military wounded. Down here, we have 1 million South Korean civilians dead and missing, around 200,000 military killed and missing, and around 429,000 military wounded. China, there were no civilian dead and missing because obviously we know that the battle was only fought in North and South Korea. China, we have 600,000 military killed and missing, and we have 700,000 military wounded. Here in the United States, obviously we have a lot less because none of the battle was fought on our grounds as well. We have around 37,000 military killed and missing, and around 100,000 military wounded. And because the UN assisted the United States and South Korea, they also did have some casualties. They had 3,000 military killed and missing, and they had around 12,000 military wounded. So this is the Korean War by the numbers. Let's take a look at some of the civilian perspectives. So here we have two pictures of Korean civilians grieving the losses of their families who fought in the war. They're obviously very sad, as you can tell, because this war had taken a lot from them. They had obviously the weaponry used in the war was very intense. As we can see here, that there's a tank, a woman, and a baby is right in front of this tank, and you can see how powerful the weaponry really is. So it probably had done a lot of damage to many people, and many families are grieving the loss of their loved ones during the war, which is very sad to think about. Right. Over here, we can see a statue, like a memorial for the Korean War, and it says the Forgotten War. It is known as the Forgotten War. It is known as a proxy war because it was never declared by Congress. If it was declared by Congress, then maybe it would have escalated into China. Maybe other countries might have gotten involved. Maybe the USSR might have gotten involved because they were the ones who set up a puppet regime in the north. But there is no telling what could have happened and what couldn't have happened. Over here is a picture of, I believe, two American men reading a newspaper from Stars and Stripes that says "Truce signed." It doesn't say war is over. Usually in newspapers in World War II, it says war's finished, no more war, free country. It says it's usually war-related titles. This just says "Truce signed." It's because this was not, an officially declared war, like I have said many times before in the video. Alright, that is it for today. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something from this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Again, this video is for informational purposes only. Also, don't forget to visit our website for exclusive materials at tinyurl.com/mycooklessons. Have a great day.